on the one hand, the Surgeon General released a report saying I think over 1 in 2 people experience significant loneliness, and this is exacerbated for young adults. And so I
Hmm.
think that I don't know, the way we live, if you aren't particularly close to family or you don't have nearby
Hmm.
friendship, then you want to
Hmm.
find yourself in certain communities. And I think that work, is one place in
Hmm.
one community, not the community
Hmm.
you should find
Hmm.
yourself in, especially
Hmm.
because, well, it's work. You go for money, right? Some
Hmm.
people don't even want to talk to their coworkers. I think that's completely valid. But
Hmm.
well, do whatever you want to do. But I think that I like to feel like I'm a part of whatever I do. Like I really like to
Hmm.
kind of devote myself to what I'm a part of. And not that I want to be a slave at all to my job, but I would just like to feel like what I do has meaning. Meaning in the
Hmm.
sense of I'm producing something that's going to be useful.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
have this camaraderie with my
Hmm.
coworkers. And so if we even go back to school, I know we both said that so much of our kind of self worth or maybe even our confidence came from school. And I
Hmm.
think although I felt lonely in school, I had these constant, incessant goals, and these goals
Hmm.
made me feel whole, right? They made me feel good.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I think, I mean, I did school for 22 years of my life, and so school is just some comforting thing and not a safety net. Wouldn't say I'm just going back
Hmm.
to console myself and relieve myself of the
Hmm.
real world, but I do
Hmm.
miss, I think it's a constant. No matter what's going
Hmm.
on in my life, I have school. So,
Yeah, I think what you said about community is very important. Like honestly, I have never been someone who really takes like school spirit very seriously. So I think it was like probably like not expected that I would miss a sense of like community from the college experience because I was never like, oh, I'm a Baylor Bear or whatever. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I love Baylor and like the whole experience and stuff, but I've never been someone who's crazy about stuff like that. So, but I like looking back, I think that's probably another reason, like, the last 2 years or 3 years have been, maybe a little more challenging. But I think in general, in, Western society, and especially like in modern times, I think we do live very like isolated lifestyles. And for a lot of people, I think finding a sense of community can really be a really big struggle. Um, and yeah, I mean, I've like struggled with it myself, certainly over the last few years, especially, but in general too, I think, and like you said, like, I think I've been like searching for a remedy to that. Like, okay, let me just get involved in some kind of project that's like meaningful enough to me. And that will, make me feel like I'm doing something good and meaningful that involves other people in some way. And yeah, I can definitely sense that there's been like a void in my life in that respect. Um, and as a result, just like a lack of meaning, especially because for me, I think I'm like a very like relationship and like people-centered person. So a lot of like the meaning in my life certainly comes from the people in it and like the people either that I'm helping or talking to or whatever in some way. So it's like feeling like I'm not a part of like something bigger that involves other people. I think it definitely like there is like a sense of like a lack of fulfillment completely. And I've been experimenting, like trying different things and seeing like, okay, like maybe in terms of my career or like volunteering or just socially in general, like I can try to fill that void as much as possible. But it certainly is there. And like if you compare like, like life in like an industrialized like Western country to maybe somewhere else in a different culture or something like that, I think you will see like a generally like a greater sense of community in cultures like that. And I think people do feel a little less isolated in cultures and societies like that. And I think it's linked to like a lot of different things, like including mental health concerns, like, depression, anxiety. I think a lot of it comes from just being like a very isolated, disconnected individual that doesn't feel like they're a part of a community or like something greater in any way. And obviously, you see that manifest in like people joining cults and stuff like that in the past. So, I didn't want to bring up cults right away in the first episode, but I felt like it was,
Uh,
kind of relevant. But yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of that like sentiment, and it's not, um, uncommon for sure.
yeah, no, I was going to say I completely understand why people join cults.
Hmm.
I mean, I think if I didn't have these, I guess, plans to hopefully change how I feel currently, cults would be relatively appealing to me, especially, if they were nice, good people. They're not harming anyone, like a club, but it's a cult. I could join one of those. I'm not going to, but
Hmm.
I consider joining church, every Sunday, although
Hmm.
I'm not particularly religious, but really just to find some sort of community. And I love to sing. And I kind of want to make a note. I think that I don't really know how I want to say this, but things
Hmm.
like singing, they're just so good for the soul. I
Hmm.
would like to have, some community where we don't just go out for coffee. So sometimes I look on Meetup. There's
Hmm.
like Meetup for coffee,
Hmm.
Meetup for hiking, and actually being in nature is good. But
Hmm.
I think something like church, where you get to perform these rituals, where you have this belief in something and you can manifest this belief kind of, although I know that's not what church is, but kind of the concept, you believe something, you do these things, and you kind of loosely expect this outcome, and then you sing. And I feel like singing and music are such powerful tools to bring people together. And I mean, of course, music is such a big thing within across all cultures, but